Well, I want to dive into some questions that teachers have been asking us at McGraw-Hill. And is the science of reading aligned to the simple view of reading and Scarborough's rope? I don't see things like social emotional learning or executive function, or maybe writing or technology. Does that mean that those things aren't supported by the science of reading?
This gets tricky. The relationship of a model to a body of research is more a work of art than it is a work of science. It's actually an attempt by somebody to summarize the work on a particular field and maybe to focus particular research questions. So I remember when Phil Goff and his colleagues, put forth the simple view of reading. His challenge to the field was to, find aspects of reading, find, something that has to be learned that doesn't fit into either the decoding pot or into the language pot. And essentially, if you're going to put it out as a hypothesis like you did, what you're hoping is that somebody's going to come along and knock it down, that they're going to come up with studies that find, pieces that aren't part of this. And so, I'd say research is over, 30-year period has been fully aligned with the simple view of reading. But if you look at those data, you'd say, yeah, but that doesn't explain everything in reading, does it? And it doesn't. It explains maybe 70% of the variation in reading. And so that means that there's something else there. And there are hypotheses of what some of those things are. You mentioned a few, just in asking the question. And so something like social emotional learning is something that, it isn't captured in the simple view, but it is a comparable kind of a variable. It is something internal to the student. It's something that one could imagine, teaching the student how to manage their social emotional, functioning, that might have an impact on reading. Whereas you also mentioned some things like technology and so on that are really external and wouldn't be part of that model anyway. It isn't a model about how to teach reading. It's meant to be a processing model, what's included in reading. And so social emotional might be, but technology couldn't possibly be. Right. So and that's where it gets tricky because, somebody's looking and says, well, he's saying technology doesn't matter. No, I'm saying it's not part of that model because it's about what kids learn. It's not how they learn. If you want a model about how they learn, you're going to put in some different, variables. You're going to put in teacher knowledge. You're going to put in classroom organization. You're going to put in a whole bunch of amount of instruction. You're going to put in a bunch of things that you go, well, those are really important. They're important instructionally. They're not important as a cognitive model.